doing?
I was in the back of Knife where I got put to work wrapping Christmas presents.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really like wrapping Christmas presents. So I was pretty excited. I happen to love Christmas.
You love this is great to hear. I like Christmas.
Hello?
Hi.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry, my computer went quiet for a sec. Anyways.
Tell me about Christmas. Tell me about your Christmas wrapping. What were you doing?
So we had a lovely customer who wanted to set up his staff with a bunch of knives. And for those of you that don't know, we have yeah. So sorry, one sec. I'm hearing us on two plays at once. There we go. Yeah. So we had a customer who bought a bunch of knives for his staff, energy company, and wanted to show them how much he loves them. And so he bought him a bunch of Japanese knives, and I got to wrap them up and make about 26 people's Christmases, hopefully.
That's
yeah.
Perfect.
For anyone that doesn't know, we do a corporate program. So if you're a realtor or you work in an office or something, and you want to give your staff or your customers really sweet gifts, we have kind of a brochure and a whole section on the website for that kind of stuff. I'm just getting my bag of goodies going for our show today.
Well,
how was your day, Kevin?
Well, Justin says he'd love Christmas too if he had your mustache. So there you go. And Mr. Brian Crooks says, "Good evening, boys."
Oh, good evening, Brian. Yeah, I decided to grow a Christmas beard. Maybe by the end of the month it'll be white. We'll see.
Mine's whiter now than it was 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's this year has done something to you. It's grayed your hair a little bit.
Yes, it has.
It's all those dad jokes you're telling.
I'm telling people to just, ask us any questions. This is a bit of an ask us anything, ask me anything, and ask us anything. It's an AUA.
An AUA. Yeah. Hey,
We'll
Federico's saying, hey, how's it going, buddy? And Trevor. Always good to see you, Trevor.
And we'll try to be intelligent.
Yeah. So what do we have to talk about today, Kevin?
Well, let's see. Well, in knifeware news, Santa dropped a present for us.
Yeah, Santa's been doing some Yakitori.
Santa seems like Santa's been using the Konro grill and dropped us a little Yuletide treat. So instead of the logs burning on the TV, you can now have Santa grilling on the Konro, which is great.
I think I prefer Santa grilling on the Konro to the. I mean, fire is nice and all, but that's a little last century. I think the Konro is a little more 2000s, a little more updated and fun.
Well, and the really nice thing about that video too is that part of it you can hear Mason, which is our designer, who apparently helped Santa shoot that video. So in the background, at some points, you hear Mason shouting direction to Santa. Like Santa doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah. I don't think it's Mason so much as maybe a grumpy little elf.
Oh, it was a grumpy little Mason.
He's only grumpy because you were burning his pork belly.
Worked out in the end. Mr. Fred says, hey, Kevin and Nathan, just want to say sincerely thank you for the Christmas card. I'm glad to be your customer, and it shows you care about your customers, not only as customers, but as people. It was very unexpected and heartwarming. Fred, you're welcome. We tried to, we tried to do some stuff different this Christmas to make people happy because, frankly, this year was a bit of a bummer. Did you notice that, Nathan? This is a bit of a bummer year.
Yeah, I'd say on my list of top 29 years that I've lived, it's probably somewhere near the bottom.
You're an entire 29 years old?
How about your list of top 30 years, Kevin? Because you're 30 now, right?
I'm it turns out 21 years older than you. You nothing, you tiny little nothing of a nothing.
Yeah, no, it's a bit of a bummer year.
My beard is still pretty good for a guy that's my age.
That's looking pretty good, man. It's just the right amount of Lebowski. It's great. But yeah, no, it's been a bit of a downer year for a lot of folks, and We're trying to bring some Christmas cheer with a few things. Bringing some Christmas cheer with a whole bunch of lights on our shops and a fun kind of our version of a Yule log.
Yeah, listen, I've got a picture that I'll show you of the shop at night. So I challenged all the shops to make the front of the shops look like National Lampoon, like the Griswold house,
Right.
which I thought was pretty cool. So there we go.
Trevor says, was that reindeer meat on the grill?
Obviously.
Oh, that looks great.
There's the shop. Woo! Very Grizzle. And when we plugged it in, because you and Mike were there to plug in, did the lights in the neighborhood dim a little bit or flicker?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was pretty, I mean, we kind of had to cover our eyes because it was pretty bright. And that's a brick wall, so we kind of just found a few anchor points, and we kind of just took the bundle of tangled lights and chucked it at the building. At least that's what it looks like.
I love it. I'm not drinking beer, Nathan. I'm working.
No, that's your homemade kombucha, right?
That's my homemade kombucha. It tastes just like Cabin Super Saturation Northeast Pale Ale. No, Northeast IPA, but if you look outside my window here, there's a reindeer. I don't know if you can see that.
Different reindeer from the grilling video.
Yeah, we didn't eat that one. We just ate that one's leg. It was such a good reindeer, we didn't want to eat it all at once. Oh my God, is this going off the rails already, Nathan?
Yeah, it's getting pretty bad.
Hey,
Justin's asking if we've ever thought of doing a podcast.
You know, I listened to a podcast once.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm an expert about that.
Don't know what you thought. I listen to the odd podcast. Justin, what kind of podcast do you think would be worth listening to? Like, obviously, we can just talk about really stupid stuff like we usually do, but would you want to hear one where we really get nerdy about steel and like Naoto comes in and brings in some technical info, or do you want to hear one about cooking or about knives? Like, what do you think we should actually talk about that people would want to listen to?
Boomer music.
Boomer music, yeah.
I'm not a boomer. I'm too young. I'm a Gen Xer. Everybody ignored us. That's why I'm so cynical. But listen. I've got a list here of boomer music, Nathan. We can do boomer music roundup later.
Sweet.
You can give me your insights into boomer music roundup.
Well, I'm not particularly fond of the Eagles, but everything else.
Not a big fan of the Eagles. Me and the dude agree. I used to work with a guy in the kind of mid '90s, and he was a huge Eagles fan, and he would play the best of the Eagles cassette. Yes, that's how old it was, but a cassette, and he'd play that all the time, and I mostly hated that man.
Yeah, no kidding.
He was a good guy. In fact, he was very reasonable. We had too many drinks one night, and 3 a.m. we climbed up his balcony and banged on his patio window. And he came and he did the only reasonable thing. He invited us in and gave us another beer, which is what we didn't need. We quieted down and left pretty soon after. I said, "You're taking this well, Jeff." And he says, "Well, if I get upset, you're still here." I went, it's an intelligent way to live, really.
I think we got a couple other comments here. Oh, hey, yeah, so Justin's getting back to us. Everything nice, but AMA could be kind of an email format. Like, yeah, I think it would make sense if we actually took questions ahead of time. Or a serious talk about Steeler shapes. All right, a bit of everything by the sounds of it.
Fred said, I would listen twice a week. Knives culture, or Japanese culture, stories, steel, guests, Chris Lord. Well, apparently he likes Chris Lord. I thought didn't we kill him? Isn't he dead or something?
Yeah.
Or is he just busy? Is he just busy with work now?
I thought he had a horrifying brisket accident where the motorcycle fell into a smoker.
Don Penny killed him because he made a better brisket than Don Penny. That's the worst. And he said story about
part of the brisket mob after all.
And said story about St. John's. I used to work at a restaurant called St. John, but since we're talking about St. John's, it must be Newfoundland. And I'm a big fan of St. John's, Newfoundland. I was supposed to ride my bike there this summer, but I didn't. Something happened.
Yeah, why not?
They shut down the whole world, and I wasn't allowed to anymore, which was a bit of a bummer.
Yeah,
Bit of a bummer. Hey, Nathan, did you ever put this on Instagram today? Well, you did.
I did. Yeah. There's one
Well, that's
person
good.
watching. There's a
Yeah.
pinned comment, but if anybody wants to actually hear the whole conversation and not just me in my home office, Kevin and I are on YouTube. Just go to knifeware.com/YouTube and hang out there. You can hear both of us talking.
Listen, Brian Crook says his Kisuke ATS-34 Petty for his parents came, and it's perfect. I'm excited because
Oh,
he was
right on.
asking us about that last week. So I'm glad we helped him find that because I'm a huge fan of that knife. And he's
Yeah.
also saying, did I ever choose a gravel bike? No, I haven't. Well, winter's here, and I've got a winter trucker bike. It's my drive across Canada indestructible bomb-proof bike, and it's got a pinion gearbox, so it's actually got a transmission in the crank, and it's got a belt drive, so it's perfect for icy, snowy, slushy, salty winters. There's nothing to rust on the drive.
So like the time of year when sane people don't ride bicycles.
I don't know. I rode my bike today. I rode my bike yesterday. It was 12 degrees the last 2 days, man.
It's pretty nice. Even I would ride a bike right now.
I went down to Fish Creek. I went on a long ride yesterday.
You know, I think you already have a gravel bike. Isn't that one down at the warehouse good for gravel? Like the one with the 8-foot wheel on the front and the two little ones in the back?
I've only driven that. That's your bike. So we've got, if anybody knows, we've got a what do we call it? A high wheeler or a penny farthing
bone
bike?
shaker or just penny farthing sort of.
So we've got one of those at the warehouse that Nathan tends to ride around. I've fallen off it 2 out of the 4 times I've ridden it. So but it's funny, don't you fall slowly, isn't it? It's like, oh, I'm falling.
Yeah. Yeah, you
So
actually have time to accelerate as you're falling.
Yeah, you got time to prepare. So I landed on my feet both times.
Yeah, yeah. I've probably taken that thing out for at least a good 150K. Like I've done some parades and some like a pride parade one year and some other like around the city kind of rides.
Oh my God, that's right. You did, didn't you?
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, but the seat on a penny farthing is not really built for comfort. That was when people wore like 6 layers of wool all the time, and so that was probably enough of a cushion. But if you wear like normal people, modern clothes, even if it is fancy clothes, it's still not very comfortable. It's pretty bad. It's a lot of fun to ride, though. I'm excited to get that thing out in next summer.
You know what? I want to get that thing out. I'll have to put it on the back of my car or something. So I want to take it downtown. I want to go for a ride this winter dressed as Santa on that stupid bike.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I
mean, if the weather keeps up in Calgary, you'll be able to ride it for the rest of December.
Well, you know what? There's snow planned for tonight, maybe, but it's only like 40% chance, so it likely won't snow. And there's no snow. Like the roads are perfect right now. Anyway, we're not talking about. Okay, here we go.
Let's get on track here.
Let's go on track. Nathan Garrow.
Brian said knives have made 2020 much better, and I'm happy to see all the people cooking and like spending time in their kitchens this year.
This is a fact. Oh, Fred says he wanted to talk about the restaurant, not Newfoundland. That's too bad because I know a lot about Newfoundland too. Brian Crook, tell me which gravel bike to buy. I saw a pink Salsa Warbird, I think it's called, the other day. That looked really cool. And I rode an Orbea something mountain gravel bike that was wild the other day. Oh no, Dr. G says, tell me about your first genuine Japanese Yakitori. And was there a difference between Bincho and just hardwood charcoal? Well, Dr. G, I think the big difference between Bincho and hardwood is that 1 kilo of Bincho burns for the same amount of time as 25 kilos of hardwood charcoal. I know it sounds unbelievable, but the first time I used the Bincho that we had, I burned it for 2 hours and then quenched it in water and then put it back in the same box. And I still had to like arrange it to get it back in the box. Like it didn't look like any of the charcoal had disappeared. It's
wow.
It's incredible stuff that way. Well, you know that, right?
Yeah, it goes like forever and ever and ever. Like I've had like 4 to 6 hour cooking sessions with friends, not this year, obviously, but where, I've just cooked over it and over it and over it. And at the end of the night, it's been like midnight and everybody's going home and I have to like put a pan over my grill because the Konro is still going and I'm just out of meat. I've cooked like 7 chickens and 2 pounds of rice balls and, several other things.
Nice. Okay, let me tell you about my first yakitori experience. It was in Tokyo with Shibata-san from Kokutetsu or Tinker or Masakagi Knives or West Japan Tools. He does have a lot of companies, that man. So Shibata-san and I were in Tokyo, and we found a yakitori place. Now, if you don't know what yakitori is, it's chicken skewers. Just chicken meat on skewers cooked over charcoal with tare sauce generally. Now, they'll go as far as to take the thigh off and then cut the thigh into 3 different major muscle groups because each one's slightly different, and they'll cut them differently and put them on the skewer differently, things like this. So this yakitori place, don't know the name, I could never find it again. I know it was near Ueno, somewhere in the Ueno area, and it was awesome. It was down a side street, middle of nowhere, but Shiba had like kind of hunted it out as a place we should go. And Nathan, you're gonna love it. It was only chairs for 2, like tables for 2, but they were all sitting side by side, and then they were arranged in a horseshoe around the center. So there's a chef in the center, and then a horseshoe of tables for 2 staring at him, and then a top row. So it was like theater seating.
That's awesome.
Looking at the chef. Yeah, but the thing is, like, there was 3 of them in there, and the one guy was just butchering chicken as they needed it.
No kidding.
So
it was just straight off the bones onto the grill.
Straight off the bone, straight onto skewers, straight onto the grill. So he was making the skewers as they needed them.
That's super cool.
It was wild, and that's when I really learned. See, so my first yakitori experience was a really nice yakitori restaurant.
Yeah, that was a proper one.
And the last time I was in Tokyo with Mike, who wrecks all the knives on our YouTube channel. Did he do that one yet with the glass cutting board? Have you published that one yet?
No, we're gonna do that next year. We're gonna put a little more work into that one. I think we should have a show that it's sort of like Jackass meets Will at Blend with Mike, and he just basically Mike is very good with his knife skills, but he also knows all the things that people do that ruin their knives. And so he's just going to do all of those on camera. And it is horrible. It is excruciating to watch. And it's also amazing.
Well, he is such a bum.
I think he gets some dirty pleasure out of chipping knives on Parmesan cheese and scraping them on cutting boards.
He's been doing this for years, right? Because people tend to bring us knives that they've done something bad to. Mm-hmm. And he's always interested. How did you do that? So he's been trying to break knives at home for years now. He's been playing this game by himself for a long time with his own knives, just to see like how bad can I be to this knife before it actually gets broken.
Well, I'm sure you're the same. Like I do a lot of stuff with my knives that I tell people not to, and I haven't really managed to screw them up that badly.
One thing I used to do a lot when I was testing knives, because we would get new lines and I would test the knives, and one of the things I would put them through was gardening. And I would go down and chop weeds in my backyard, and there was a certain bush that I can chop the green branches with, and I would cut those.
Yeah.
And my Takeda, the first Takeda I got, I put it through this test, and then it was really holding up well, and I didn't expect it to. I expected it to chip, but it turned out to be quite robust. But then I went and dug a dandelion with just stabbed the knife into that, and I hit a rock and chipped the tip off immediately. So that was day 1 of my first Takeda. I chipped the tip off. Well, it was testing, right?
I didn't know that. That's a hell of a way to test a knife. I love it. I mean, there are a lot of people that put their kitchen knives through that, and kitchen knives are best for food, but I think it's worth putting them through the worst possible thing that somebody's gonna, prying apart frozen burgers or trying to chop, I don't know, right through an avocado pit or something terrible.
You know what? You've been a chef for a long time. You were a chef for a while. I was a chef for an awful long time. I always told young cooks that I worked with, I said, just get a cuisine screwdriver. So I had like a Canadian Tire brand, yellow handle, standard screwdriver that lived in my box. because people like chefs would like look and go, there's a screw I need to tighten, and just get a knife or something stupid, right? Or like prying frozen things apart. Like how many knives have we seen damaged because people are trying to pry frozen hamburger patties apart, right? Just jam the screwdriver in and pop it. It's easy.
I've been saying this for like 7 or 8 years. Knifeware should sell a kitchen screwdriver, like just bright red handle with Knifeware on it, and just like, you know, cheap dollar store screwdriver, but for prying apart your frozen burgers and doing dumb stuff in the kitchen that, you know, a screwdriver is best for.
I love it. I think we should.
Yeah. Oh, Bhoff 310 also got their Manaka knife today, and is quite happy about it by the sounds of it. Good, glad to hear it, buddy.
Non-kitchen knife stores sell brass, copper, and titanium pry bars. What? What is that? I want a brass, copper, or titanium pry bar for the kitchen.
Yeah, send us a link, buddy. I'm Googling it right now.
Oh, that is a fun idea. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
Sell them made out of Agami Super. No, sell them made out of something really soft so it doesn't break. Sell them made out of screwdriver
made out
material.
of Agami Super?
I don't want a pry bar made out. It would just snap. That's actually, let's talk about that. How are Japanese knives made generally? And this is how they're made. Often you get there's two ways to do it. There's sanmai, warakami. And here we go. Here's the difference. Sanmai is like this. You have a piece of soft steel and a piece of soft steel, and in between you put a piece of hard steel like this. You have two soft steels and then wrap it around the hard steel. So in this case, the inside, which is cardboard, would be the hard steel like the Agami Super, and then the outside would be the softer steels. What this does is if I just dropped this knife, it was made out of Agami Super all the way, and I dropped it, it would probably break. But by wrapping softer steels around the outside of it, it acts like a shock absorber. Imagine a teacup. If you just drop a teacup, it'll break. But what if you wrap the whole teacup in rubber?
Yeah.
And then dropped it, right?
It's like a security blanket for your knives.
Yeah, so that's called sanmai. So it's sanmai means 3 layers, right? 3 pieces. Then there's warakami, which is the way the Mortakas, for example, make their knife, or the Masakagimizu, where the steel is split open, but not all the way to the bottom, right? So it's split open a little bit, like a hot dog bun.
Mm-hmm.
And then they wump this in. So it looks kind of like this, right? So there's still a connection here, but then there's the 3 layers at the top. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like a hot dog versus a bologna sandwich.
Exactly. So the Mortaks, that's called warakami when they do that, or it's called sanmai when you do it the other way. Mm-hmm. And hanyaki, I'm glad you asked, D-Hop 420. Hanyaki is this. It's the way they would heat treat old samurai swords. So you would take your piece of steel, let's say this is my knife. I know it's not a very good knife shape, but here's my knife. And if this is the edge and this is the spine, with and hanyaki is made out of 1 piece of steel, 1 piece of hard steel. And then you'll see a little, actually, I've got one in my hands here. What am I doing? I've got a hanyaki knife right here.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, this is easy. So this is the way they would make samurai swords. They would make the spine softer and the edge harder. The edge is hard because that's what keeps the edge. All right. So do you see this wiggly line right here? Let's see if I can get closer.
Yeah, give the knife a little sort of rotate. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. You see that little, looks like waves, right? That is where the top of this steel is much softer than the bottom of the steel. So the edge steel is harder and the top is softer. And right where that line is where that 2 steels, or the 1 steel, but the two hardnesses meet. So what they would do, paint this type of clay really thick on the spine and then really not so thick on the edge. So when they heat treat it, they heat it up and then they quench it by jamming in the water. That way, you would end up with the top cooling slower than the edge. The edge would cool fast and get really hard. The top would cool slower and not get as hard. The problem with making Hanyaki blades like that is that I'm told between 2 and 4 out of 5 will break because you're putting a lot of stress on that steel, right? So not a lot of people make Hanyaki blades. And the ones that do have a lot of failure with it because it's just putting a lot of strain on the steel. So you'll find them, they're very expensive, and but they're really romantic. Like who doesn't
when
want
we were in Sweden back in like what 2015 or so, forever ago.
When we broke the airplane?
Yeah. Before the second time we broke the airplane. That was but after we broke the train.
Okay, so after breaking one airplane, then breaking a train, this is before we broke the second airplane?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, that's good to know. We broke everything on that flight or that
But
trip.
after the chips in a cardboard box. But those are good.
So good. So good.
Chips just taste better out of a cardboard box. But we went to the axe maker, and they, I mean, it was really cool seeing how they make axes in Sweden because they use like radiation, basically. They use like macro waves, he called them, like it's like a microwave, but bigger. And they just blast radiation at the steel for 60 seconds or so, and it turns it to like 1,000 degrees in no time at all. And they didn't put clay on it or anything fancy like that. They literally just blasted radiation at the edge specifically and then quenched it. And they ended up with like this differential kind of temper where the back end of the axe that goes onto the handle is really soft and absorbs shock really well, like a, you know, like shocks on a car. And then the front end's really hard and gets really, really sharp. I thought that was super cool.
Do you remember how they tested the axe head to see if the axe head was
favorite?
So what did they do, Nathan?
So they like one of the most muscular people I've ever seen. They're like one of their senior axe makers. This like, you know, 40-year-old Swedish lady, wiry like a cat, just had this giant stump with an iron bar bent over it, and would just take the axe head and put the blade under the iron bar. And from the other side, she would she just had a hammer, probably one she made, and just smashed on it as hard as she possibly could 2 or 3 times. And
where would she hit it?
Basically right on the edge, like right where it was hard.
Right on the edge.
and we asked her, like, what are you doing? She said, I'm quality testing. If the axe head doesn't explode, then it's good to go.
This was wild. This is after they ground it too, so it was really thin on the edge.
Yeah.
And she just wailed on it with a hammer.
Very different from the Japanese method of quality testing, really. Just kind of like, you know, do a lot of this, which is, you know, super valid too. But in Sweden, they just hit it with a hammer a few times and see if it works.
That was wild. I remember you and I both, our eyes were like this, like, what are you doing?
I think I jumped back a little bit because it just like, I was kind of shocked by how hard she was smashing this axe with a hammer.
Yeah, because I don't hit my axe that hard with a hammer.
No, I kind of baby my axes a little bit. I think I treat them better than my kitchen knives sometimes.
Yeah, well, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we're supposed to just hammer them with a hammer. Hammer them with a hammer.
No kidding. Hey, quick question on Instagram. Sorry to make you wait, buddy. Giuliano, I'm gonna mess up the rest of your last name. But best Kiritsuki that we carry, over 240 preferably. What do you think, Kevin? And Giuliano, head to YouTube because you can hear both of us talking over there.
Yeah, head to YouTube, Knifeware. I guess you should tell them.
Yeah, knifeware.com/YouTube. I think it's pinned to the top comment there.
Oh, it is on Instagram, yeah. What 270 Kiritsukis do we have? More
We don't have any 270, but if you want a 240 Kiritsuke, we got some really cool ones. We've got this
Masashi Shiroshu.
Yeah, the Masashi Shiroshu is super, super sexy. I also really like that old Sakai Ginseng one that we have right now. Ginseng's cool because it's stainless, but it's, from what I understand, it's supposed to work a lot like carbon steel.
Sorry, I was reading a comment. I wasn't listening to you. Were you asking me a question? Sorry.
Well, Ginseng Steel, it's stainless, but isn't it supposed to work a lot like carbon steel in the way it sharpens and the kind of edge it gets?
Yeah, Ginseng. Well, Ginseng was made as a response to VG10, but I think they
Hmm.
made it a little bit better. It seems more
Hmm.
stable than VG10, and it takes on more of the forging effect. So the more you hit with the hammer, the more dense it becomes, and the harder it becomes, which is great. So it improves as you hit it more. And it
Cool.
some people say it feels like carbon when you cut. I don't think so. I think it feels like stainless steel unless you give it a Shibata sand edge, where you give it, you know, one high polished grit finish on one side and a low grit on the other when you're sharpening it.
Right, like a toothier kind of smooth
Yeah,
combo thing.
but
Yeah.
then that feels a lot like carbon steel. Spanishiwa, the Spanish Iwa. I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm sorry for that. It says, I accidentally scratched my new Makoto Sakura, inserting it into the belt line knife cover. Any tips to buff or polish the scratches away? Two things I have to
Ooh.
say about it. One thing is I let all my blades get scratched up because I think they look better eventually. I think that reminds me that that's now my knife.
Yep.
And the way I like how leather jackets get more beat up over time and how they look better. Um, so I'm not the one that babies the aesthetic of it. You know, like even my
Hmm.
new bike, I chipped some of the paint off my new bike, but I got a plan for that. I'll tell you later. Um, but if you want to buff scratches out, you can get some automotive sandpaper that's used for painting. So it's used for sanding the paint, and you can get different grits. And if you start with a really high grit, like 4,000, you should probably just be able to buff it out. Depending how deep the scratch is, you might go down lower, but then go up as high, like the highest number you can on this sandpaper, and make sure it gets wet. So get it
Yeah.
wet, and also remember, it's like cleaning something really dirty. If you're gonna start, you can't just do the scratch, you have to do the whole blade.
Yeah, it's gonna
Otherwise,
stand
or
out a
otherwise
lot
people will see where
more.
you the spot you worked on, right?
Yeah, yeah, it'll stand out like a sore thumb, unfortunately. One, a lot of knives, like I don't know if this will show up on camera really, but if you look at the way it catches the light a little bit, the way that they polish knives in the factory has sort of a grain to it, and so they always polish either usually it's from what I can tell, it's almost always this way or this way, and so you're going to want to look at the lines, the grinding lines that are in your knife, and if you want to make it look like it did when it was brand new, try to follow that direction as much as possible, or just do like me and Kevin, like I used to be super precious when I got like a new pair of leather boots or a new knife,
You
for example.
you were
Yeah, yeah.
you're abusive to shoes, man.
Oh yeah, no, I beat the heck out of almost everything I own. That's why I go through phones so fast because I just destroy things. But yeah, I used to be really precious when I got like a new pair of leather shoes or boots or whatever. And yeah, at a certain point, I'm just like, no, if I take good care of it and maintain it, it's going to add to the aesthetic. It's going to make it look cooler. I got that super custom knife from our buddy Chris Green. We're actually going to have his knives in store, I think tomorrow. We're going to have his knives back.
Oh, at
Um,
Kent of Inglewood stores.
yeah, but he made me a giant Bowie knife, and at first I was like, "Oh, this is super pretty. I just want to, look at it." And then I went and whacked some branches while I was hiking, and it's a lot more fun to just kind of beat the heck out of it and let it get scuffed up and everything.
Nathan, can I talk to you about my bike for a second? I have a
Mm-hmm.
bicycle I really like. Well, I have a couple, but I've got this one that I really like, and I scratched it. I scratched a lot of the paint off of it, and it's brand new. It's like less than a year old. Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's my beautiful black bike with black and black and black and black and black, and then more black, and
Oh,
everything on
that's
it's
even
all
worse.
black. Yeah, I love that bike so much. Everything's black, and now I've got some like scratches on it. So what I've done, I've gone and got excited by, I can't remember what it's called now, but this is Japanese technique of repairing old dishes, where they'll use
Uh-huh.
gold to fill in the cracks and repair and glue the dishes back together and repair them so they can have them for many, many, many years. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to treat it like gold gilding or gold leaf. So I'm going to paint the scratches. I'm going to get the little automotive paintbrush and paint inside the scratches red, and then paint over that gold. So
Cool.
it'll look like I've repaired my bike with gold.
Kintsugi, it's called,
Oh yeah,
from what Google tells me.
yeah, pretty cool, huh? So
Yeah.
my bike will soon have a lot of scars on it that I painted red with gold over top. So
Oh, that's awesome.
I know. So
The
now
only
I'm kind of
thing-
looking forward. I'm kind of looking forward to scratching my bike
Yeah.
more.
The only thing that makes the color black cooler is gold and or red.
Yeah, well, that's it.
They just go together.
Well, it's like the gold leaf always painted red underneath the gold leaf. And I don't know why, but I think it looks really good. So if I just painted gold on the black bike, it might look weird. But if there's a little bit of red sticking out from the gold, I think it'll look much better.
Yeah,
That's
I
my
think
plan.
so.
You know what, guys?
with my
If you have
shoes.
any questions, is anybody even watching? Because I wouldn't want. Would you watch this?
I don't think so. I
If
don't think
there's
anybody's
anybody watching,
more.
if you got any questions, let us know. Otherwise, I think we'll move on to. I've got news here, Nathan.
Yeah, I think we should. I mean, I think we should talk about the beer because that's a good tidbit reward for the people who have stuck around already. By the way, while Kevin's grabbing that, if you are watching on Instagram, I see there's a few of you. Head to knifeware.com/YouTube because you can hear both of us talk. It's a lot more interesting than just watching me staring at my computer. Buzzcut.
Okay, tell us about Buzzcut beer, Nathan. There's some information there that's important. Honey and apple sour ale, 10%. Look at that.
10%. It's probably
made
more than
with
10%.
Highline Brewery and ABC Bees and Knifeware and Kent of Inglewood. But you see, we actually didn't put our logos on there because that's how good we are at marketing. We made these things, but then didn't put our name on it because we're stupid, frankly. There you go.
Yeah, well, we it was sort of like the brainchild of JJ from Highline and I guess us because we like beer, but also mostly at least from ABCBs because we sponsor a couple beehives with Knifeware and with Kent of Inglewood in Alberta because there's a local company called ABCBs. They teach people about obviously the importance of bees. If you don't know, bees make food. They also make the food eats, so they're kind of essential. And at least helps to teach people about urban beekeeping and sustainable beekeeping and basically how to help sustain the local bee populations. And so we sponsor these hives every year through part of our program. And she allows us to come and visit the hives and educate our staff about bees and what they do and how hives work. But she also gives us anywhere from 50 to 100 pounds of honey at the end of the summer. Whatever's left from the hives. Obviously, you leave some for the bees so they can survive the winter, and then you can take a certain amount. And so she gave us that, and we didn't really know what to do with it, so we gave it to JJ at Highline Brewing in Inglewood, and he said, "Heck yeah, I can make a great beer out of this." And instead of making like a honey brown ale or kind of the generic expected choice, he said, "No, I want to do something really weird because he likes making weird beer," and he made a apple infused sour ale, and it's pretty awesome. He also made it 10% alcohol.
It's actually shockingly good. I'm not a huge fan of sours usually because it usually tastes to me like they've made a beer and then poured in vinegar or poured in yogurt after they made the beer or just puked in it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you get that puke vinegar. Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But
it's sort of like kombucha. It's usually really sour and unpleasant. And
yeah, it doesn't taste right. But this, I think this is the best beer they've ever made, to be honest. I know that's going to sound ridiculous because it's the beer with our, well, I was going to say it's the beer with our name on it, but clearly our name isn't on it. because we're marketing
It will
geniuses.
Be tomorrow, I believe.
We are marketing geniuses. So there you go. There's that. And it's got a Masakagi Yuki on the label that the bees are crawling all over. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool label. I really, really like it. I like it almost as much as I like that beer because I really like that beer. And I'm a little afraid that we put it in 650 ml bottles because it's 10% alcohol and it goes down like a session beer or a cider. It just kind of evaporates out of your glass into your mouth.
It is so smooth and refreshing. The vinegar is integrated into the beer, like in the fermentation process. It's balanced. The acidity is just refreshing. And then the honey balances it all out. I don't know. You smell the honey on the nose. You get a bit of the honey on the palate. It tastes like cider, to be honest. Except you wouldn't You wouldn't even know it's boozy. That's the danger of it. It tastes like
Yeah.
it tastes less boozy than kombucha, to be honest.
Well, we're giving a bottle to each of our staff, and I've got a few people in my life who always
that'll
say,
take
"Oh,
care of
I don't."
that'll take care of 53 of the 8 bottles we have.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we'll have another 40 bottles left or so, depending on how many you took and how many more you
A
take.
dozen. I took a dozen.
That's not bad.
And you said Highline Brewery has actually got 2 kegs and they're tapping it on Friday?
Yeah. So that's going to be on tap. They're doing taster glasses. Obviously, you're not going to pour somebody a pint of 10% beer.
They're not doing taster glasses. I think that our government in Alberta just said 0 social gatherings inside and outside, and I think they just closed restaurants again.
Oh, okay. So so maybe that beer will hang out for a little while and condition in the kegs, and then it'll be extra clear.
Or maybe you can go get a growler of it, because everybody needs a growler at 10% beer. Do you want to have fun, Nathan? Let's share a growler of beer.
I don't know if I can. You'll have to split it with me, Kevin. I don't know if I can have that much fun all on my own.
Woohoo! We can we have to do it separately.
Yeah, I was
so
gonna say
I'll
we
get
can
a
meet up in
growler.
the park.
No, we can't even do that anymore. Apparently, I just got a text that apparently we can't even have gatherings outside. So I don't know what this means. I don't know what's going to happen with all the anti-mask rallies that are happening every day here, because those people never get charged. But you know what? If you and I meet up for a beer in a park somewhere, I bet we both get arrested and tased.
Yeah, because we're not, expressing our freedom of expression or some nonsense.
Okay, let's get off of that.
I'll have to. I'll talk to JJ and we'll figure out how people can get some of that beer, because it's going to cost a little more than their average beers. So I don't think you'll get their. By the way, like Highline Brewing, if you're in Calgary and you like craft beer, but you're also really cheap like me,
their regular price is $5 a glass. Like
their pints are $5, and their growlers are like $13 or $14. They're crazy cheap. Even their tall boys. Normally a 4-pack of local beer is like $18 in Calgary or $20, and they sell them for $14, and they're on Skip the Dishes, and you can like just drive up to their brewery and grab something at the door. So even if they're closed, you can still get their beer, and it's probably the cheapest craft beer in the city, and it's really good. I drink several of their beers quite regularly, including the gluten-free one. So if there's any celiacs in the audience. Oh no.
So Trevor said, oh, go on.
Well, he said sharing growlers. Isn't that how scooter accidents happen? Something like that, Trevor.
Did you have a scooter accident this year, Nathan?
I don't think I was sharing the growler. I think I probably had a couple growlers worth of beer to myself that night.
Well done. How'd that work for you?
Well, I got a gold tooth out of it. So I'd say pretty good. Besides the long-term complications and the $7,000 dentist bill, which is no big deal. That's like a living wage won't cover.
The broken jaw, the black eye, the scars. That's why he's got a beard now. He's too scarred up, and he looks like a fish.
Oh yeah,
a shark bit him.
Yeah, this is. If I shave this beard off, I'll have as many scars as Don Penny.
Fred, sorry, buddy. I don't think I can ship beer to Pennsylvania. I don't think I can ship beer across the border without huge problems.
Yeah, we can't ship anything with alcohol because we at Ken of Inglewood, our sister store, we sell a lot of like nice aftershaves and colognes and stuff, and we can't ship them anywhere outside of Canada.
Yeah. So Fred, I would love to send you a dozen beer, but I can't send you any.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
The good news is, Fred, obviously you're not going to be visiting Canada anytime soon, but when that is a thing that can happen again, come visit Calgary, because Highline Brewing just ordered another, I think, 80 pounds of honey from ABCBs, and they liked the beer that they made, and we liked the beer they made so much, and Elise loves it. Like, she was super, super into it. They're going to make another like 8 kegs of that honey beer. So there will be more in the future.
I'm pretty excited about that. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, me too.
Listen, Federico, Bonasso is asking, when are we going to restock more Taka Kiertske 240? Listen, we've got standing orders with the Mortakas. Like, I think they're every 2 months. And they should be coming in, if they haven't already, soon. They should be here like right away if they haven't already. I fear that maybe they've already sold out, which means the next shipment will be January, February.
Yeah, I just checked our like income, because we have, you know, kind of a list of incoming orders, and there probably won't be any this month. There definitely won't be any in the next week or two, but we get them not too irregularly. Federico, I'm sure you've done this already, but if you go to the product page on our website, there's a little button that says notify me when it's in stock, and you can just hit that and pump your email in there, and we'll let you know when it comes in. We missed a question from our buddy Sultan as well. He's just wondering, what do you recommend steel-wise, white number 1 or blue number 2?
Do you want to go first or me?
What do you think, Kevin? Yeah,
here's my thinking about white 1 and blue 1 are a bit of a step up from blue 2 and white 2. Like, so blue 1 can get a little bit harder than blue 2, and white 1 can get actually quite a bit harder than white 2. We're talking about carbon steel, so white or Shirogami. I prefer buying the steel from the blacksmith that he likes to work with. For example, Masashi likes to work with SLD a lot. I love Masashi's SLD knives. He kills it, right? Kurosaki and Takamura like R2. So I prefer to get knives from them made of R2, if that makes sense. So if I'm talking Fujiwara, I prefer white 1. If I'm talking Moritaka, I prefer blue 2. Because it's just what they prefer making, and I think they just do a better job. I think it's got something to do with craftsmanship, right? Like, I've been a chef for a long time, and there's reasons I use certain farmers for meat and certain suppliers for vinegars and oils, because those are the ones I like the best, and they're the ones I'm most confident using, right? So if I have to make food with ingredients that Nathan has chosen, I'll be challenged to do it because I don't know exactly how they react precisely. Totally. So there's that.
I like that food analogy, because yeah, you're comfortable with certain, you know, using certain ingredients or certain spices or things from a certain source that it's just what you know, right? Yeah. No.
How about you? What do you think? What do you think?
I mean, my first Japanese knife ever was a Moritaka 240 Yuto, which I think is a pretty sweet first knife to get. First Japanese.
Not a bad first knife at all.
It's pretty good. I think that was Jordan Fritz that sold me that one, and yeah, I was pretty into the blue carbon steel, but like, I don't think I noticed quite as much like the really subtle differences between every single steel. I kind of am more aesthetically inclined, and I like the kind of patinas they build, and so I really like. I mean, my favorite steel has always been Aogami Super, because it's super hard, it gets pretty sharp, and it doesn't rust quickly, and so it just develops this really nice black patina over time. I like how my Aogami, like my regular Aogami, my regular blue carbon knife, it's a lot more fussy, so I don't take it out every single day to use. Same as I don't use my turntable every single day. I take out my Aogami when I like really want to enjoy the experience of cutting. Same as like if there's a certain, you know, Chick Corea album that I really want to listen to, and I don't want to listen to it on Spotify, I want to hear every detail on the vinyl, I'll pull out that record, but I'm not going to do that every single evening I listen to music. And so that's kind of when I go to my carbon steel. And I mostly have Aogami. I really, really like it. I do like just how blazingly sharp white carbon can get, though. Like, if I just want to pick up a knife and just go, oh my God, this is why I love Japanese knives, that's when I reach for like a white carbon steel knife, because it just blows my head off every time I use it.
Cool. I like that. That's fun. I like the record talk. I like records.
Yeah. I really like records.
D-Hop 310, which I think I called D-Hop 420 earlier, and I'm sorry about that. It's totally a different thing.
This is Canada.
Yeah, well, it's legal. legal here. We can smoke weed all day if we like. Woohoo!
Yeah,
Our
you've been listening to
Japanese,
Snoop Dogg, I see.
he's Canadian, I think. Are Japanese knife makers offended when people put custom handles on their knives? Are they okay with custom handles? Tastefully done, of course.
Hmm.
Um, and the answer is I haven't met a Japanese knife maker that's that precious. I know Kagura-san thought the knives he made were so beautiful, he never engraved them. And he didn't want people
Huh.
to engrave his knives because he thought they were beautiful as they were. I know Hinora throws a ton of blades out after he's ground them because he doesn't like them. But I've never,
Yeah.
ever known them to not like custom handles. In fact, they quite like custom handles. They will go and hunt out strange handles in Japan to put on their knives, especially to denote that this knife is special or nice or cool or
Hmm.
above and beyond, right?
That's cool. Well,
So no, in
isn't a
fact,
big part. I mean, if I'm not totally mistaken, when you go to some restaurants in Japan, there's an aspect to kind of showing the quality of your knife as you're slicing sashimi. Like there's definitely the tool is a very valued part that you're kind of showing off. So I think being a little bit, I think like you said, tastefully eccentric about your knife handles. I think that probably plays into the spirit of why a lot of blacksmiths make their knives in the first place.
yeah, well, a lot of blacksmiths make knives beautiful for a reason because they want to make beautiful things, right?
Yeah,
Do you know this, Nathan? You'll never see a chef in Japan use a Kurochi knife.
I've heard that.
You'll never
Yeah,
see it in an open kitchen because they think customers will think it's dirty or it's too
yeah.
low class. So
Huh.
chefs that are in public eye, like chefs that are being watched, they love mirror polish knives.
Yeah.
They're a big fan of that,
Hmm.
and not as much Damascus as you'd think either. Like,
Interesting.
and mostly from Sakai. So you'll
So
see
really plain, clean looking, like really
super
polished
clean,
looking knives.
but like really refined. So like a really
Huh.
polished choil and a really polished edge and a mirror polished face, things like that. And
Huh.
usually beautiful writing on it. They'll have their name, but they'll have it in really beautiful kanji. So
Cool.
that's really important to them.
Well,
It
it
looks like,
reminds me of when, like, this has obviously changed a lot. You probably would know this even better than me. Like when I first started working in restaurants, like it was, no beards, no piercings on your face, tattoos, especially on the hands, were a no go. Yeah, and they used to be. I mean, they were a little strict when I went to state, but I know they used to be super strict about facial hair, about anything that was perceived as like dirty or out of any of that kind of thing.
when I was at SATE, that's the local cooking school, I had to have clean shaven face, totally clean shaven, every day. I had to take my earrings out. I had earrings. I'd take them out. And I didn't have tattoos. Then nobody did. Because
Yeah.
tattoos, bikers had tattoos. I used to ride a dinosaur to school. I'm really old. Really old. It's terrible. Um, but yeah, tattoos weren't a thing, right? So there you go. But now it's totally different. If you don't have a tattoo, can you even cook?
Yeah.
If you,
I
if you
don't
don't
think I
have
don't think
if you
they'll
don't
let
have
you.
a curled mustache, can you even make a cocktail? I don't even know it's possible.
Probably not. Hey, Jeevan, our man Jeevan in Vancouver says he cooked for Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock one time.
He says he cooked Chick Corea for Herbie Hancock once.
Ah, right.
Chickpea Korea. It's a dish of Jeevan. Chickpea Korea. He cooked it for Herbie Hancock once. And
It's a fusion dish.
yeah, chickpea Korea. It's so nice. Jeevan.
Oh boy.
Fred says chickpea curry. Oh, not Korea. It was a spelling error. Fred says if I visit Canada, will Kevin or another employee of Knifeware take me out for a beer to a great restaurant? It's only fair as I consider both of you cultural ambassadors for Japan and Canada. Fred, you come to Calgary, I'll take you out for beer. If you come and find me in Japan, I'll take you out for dinner.
Totally.
And if you find me in Kyoto, I'll take you to the best restaurant in the world.
And just come to Ken of Inglewood or Knifeware and just say, hey Nathan, I need you to take me for a beer because Highline Brewing is around the corner. There's literally a Vietnamese restaurant next to Kent of Inglewood, and then in their parking lot is the brewery that makes this honey beer for us. And so it's pretty easy to stumble around the corner and go have a pint.
It's not difficult at all. It's
No.
not difficult at all. Listen, somebody asked about signing blades. Is it a difference by which side of the blade the blacksmith
Oh
or the
yeah,
maker will put their
Tefagora.
names on? Now, here's an interesting thing. Most knives are done on the right side, like this side. But if you are Shibata-san and Masakagi knives, you'd sign them on that side. And I asked him about that, and he said because it was cool to do it the other way. So no, there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Well, I reckon Shibata's. I mean, he's clearly into cool stuff, and I mean, guy's got great style. Guy has a motorcycle, but like, I feel like he's into kind of slightly punk rock knife making, where I mean, there's a lot of rigid tradition, and I feel like he's the kind of guy that would want to break it just because it's cool. It probably appeals to the youth or the young blacksmith. I mean,
Federico says once when he was working at the Dorchester in London, they asked him to cover his arms because of tattoos. Were you cooking or were you dining at the Dorchester? That's interesting. I don't know which one it is.
That's interesting.
So he made chickpea curry with lots of herbs for Herbie Hancock and chick curry. Oh, Jeevan, you're so something. As we say in French, Jeevan is très quelque chose. That means very something. Fred Bouchard Jr.
Those of you watching on Instagram, head over to our YouTube channel. Just go knifeware.com/YouTube or look up Knifeware on YouTube, because then you can hear me and Kevin talk, and it's not just a one-sided conversation. We're talking about knives and chicoria and beer mostly.
And Jeevan says he can't think of any jokes about Herbie Hancock's last name. So if you can think of a joke about Herbie Hancock's last name, just put it in the comments there on YouTube, please, because we would like to think about that. So Federico was cooking at the Dorchester. Nice. I never cooked it or worked at the Dorchester. I never even ate at the Dorchester when I lived in London. I was there for about 8 or 9 years in London. But I did work at a place called St. John for a long time. So I've cooked a lot of bone marrow. So there you go. And Fred says, hey, he's planning on a Canadian trip for 2025. COVID might almost be under control in the States by then, so the borders might be open too.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
I think what you just mentioned there, like you never ate at the Dorchester. I think that's another thing that's really changed in the food industry. I always got the impression that back in the day, people didn't get to eat a lot of nice food when they worked at restaurants, because obviously you're always working and it's expensive, and kitchens don't historically pay super well. And I mean, you might get to eat at your restaurant, but did you get to go and have any of those experiences in other restaurants when you were at St. John's?
You know what? I was really, really lucky, because St. John was a pretty high profile place in London, especially for all the chefs in town. And being the sous chef for Fergus there, I had a nice high profile position. So to be honest, in London, chefs and restaurants take care of each other. So if I would go to Moro, for example, I'd walk into Moro and Joao would probably be in the kitchen. He'd say, Sam, Kevin from St. John's here, as I walked in, or they would know because I'd made it, booked a table. And you know what? I always got treated really well. So if I went to the local pizza place or the local Turkish restaurant, I paid the full thing. But if I went to, Fred, St. John Fergus, if I went to, let's say, Moro, or if I went to the Ivy or something, I usually got treated really, really well because people know who I was. So it was good. It was good to have a really great. It was good to work for Fergus and be a sous chef, and it was good to have a high-profile job in London because I got treated really. I got treated too well at most restaurants, which is great.
Yeah, I imagine being at number 2 probably gives you some pretty unique experience and opens a few doors.
Even when I was traveling and I ended up in California. On my way back when I was moving back to Canada, I ended up in California, and Fergus said, call me if you ever need a table booked anywhere. So I landed in California, landed in San Francisco, and I sent to Fergus an email. I said, hey, can you book me a table at French Laundry? And this was on the Tuesday. No, it was on a Sunday. And he replied right away and said, "Oh, what day works for you?" I said, "Oh my God, any day you can, right?" And within an hour, I got an email back that said, "How?" This was Sunday. I got an email back for the French Laundry. How about Tuesday at 7? And at the time, like you had to book 4 months in advance to get a table,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But if
No,
Fergus,
coming in 2 days.
but if Fergus calls you, you say okay. So I sat down and they said, "Well, here's our menu for today." Now, obviously, Mr. Kent, since you're such a good friend of Fergus Henderson, we'll give you the 3 upgrades on the menu because there was the upgrade. You want the foie gras upgrade? That's $80. Do you want the beef upgrade? That was something, and there was another truffle upgrade, and that was, they said, well, it's about $500 for the upgrades, but why don't we just give you those for free? And please don't be shy about ordering wine because I'm sure that you can afford it today.
Wow.
So we just went crazy. And D Hop says, "Do you ever go to the Fat Duck?" Yeah, I did. I went to Fat Duck a couple times. I worked at the Fat Duck for a while too, back when they only had 1 star. But it was too weird for me, to be honest. I really liked the food, but Heston back then was a real shouty jerk, and he had a lot of anger issues, a lot of stress. Right? He had a restaurant that was going under every day, and it wasn't until he got his 3rd Michelin star and a ton of press that it really saved it. So last time I saw Heston, he just got his 3rd star, and he was actually at St. John having a drink. I just came out to say hi and said, "Congrats on the 3rd star." And he's like, "Phew." He goes, "On Monday, I didn't know how we were going to make payroll on Friday." And he goes, and then on Tuesday it was announced and we were completely full every shift now. He says, "We're completely full for the next 4 months. Every lunch."
Oh my God.
It just saved him. It saved his life. Boom.
Yeah.
Because he didn't even know he didn't know how he was going to pay his staff on the Friday.
Yeah.
So
Well, I was talking to my roommate the other night, and it's like, all of us had that dream of opening a restaurant at some point, but you realize just how intense owning a restaurant is and how difficult it is. And my response was, well, if you ever want to lose a couple $1 million, it's probably, besides burning it, it's probably the fastest way to lose a few $1 million.
Well, you know what Richard Branson of Virgin Records and Virgin Airlines said? He goes, "If you want to make $1 million in a hurry, or if you want to have $1 million in a hurry, start with $1 billion and start an airline." He said, "You'll quickly have $1 million." So there you go. Also another way to go. Another way to go.
What else news do we have? Right.
Yeah, I've got some news. I wrote this book a couple years back. You know about this, Nathan?
I do.
Knife Nerd Guide to Japanese Knives. We need to do a
copy somewhere.
We need to do a reprint. But we also have a lot of new people we're dealing with right now. So I thought for the reprint, we should add new chapters. Like we want Matsutani in it, and Mizaki, and Manaka, and Hadayuki, guys like this, right? So we want to put some new faces in it. Jeevan, go away. We want to put some new faces in it. I'm going to put a whole chapter about why I don't like Jeevan, who works in Vancouver for us, because he bugs me all the time. I'm just joking. I quite like Jeevan, but don't tell him. So I want to and have a re-go at some of them. I didn't like some of the chapters, so I think I'm going to rewrite some of the chapters. And this is an excellent thing. Is there anything in the book you guys think we should have added?
Yeah.
Or should have? Because now's the time. Let me know, and we can put this in the book.
Well, and is there because I think we talked a lot about the blacksmiths, which I think is my favorite part of the book. And we had some great stuff about knife sharpening and some nerdy steel stuff. But is there any of that you guys like to see more of specifically, or things that we didn't even think of, like some recipes or some specific interviews with blacksmiths, or?
But did I tell you I'm asking Shibata-san to write the foreword for the book. Nice. And I'm going to ask, because Andrew-san's really, he's really eloquent speaker, and he's terribly thoughtful. And I'm going to ask him to write a small chapter, or even just a page or a few paragraphs, about passing the torch. Because we've got a lot of the blacksmiths now that are retiring, like Kagura-san retired, Hinura-san soon, Kato and Andrew-san are busy right now passing the torch on to the next generation. So I think I'm going to ask Andrew-san to write a few words just about passing the torch on, because I
That'd be
think
really
that'd
cool.
be I think that'd be interesting to listen to.
Can we get a photo of, is it Honora-san who has the sharpening room where he has a turntable and a bunch of jazz
You
records?
know what? Yeah, we have to go there and get that because he's got a
Yeah.
new sharpening room that's brilliant. He's got a
And
he's
can
got
we
a
get his
Japanese
like top
turntable that
5 or top 10 jazz records of all time?
that's really good.
I think
'Cause
that'd
next
be
time
super good.
I'm sending him a copy of Oscar Peterson, what's called Night Train. I'm sending him a picture,
Yeah.
a record of that
Nice.
on super heavy vinyl because he's a
That's
huge
exciting.
jazz fan. So he says he's got 3,000 jazz records. He
That's
prefers
amazing.
saxophone. Oscar Peterson's a piano player, but I think he'll make an exception. But he prefers saxophone, and he has a sharpening room. There's a sharpening room just for listening to records and finish sharpening his knives.
If I ever go to Japan with you, I'm just going to learn a bunch of Japanese jazz vocabulary because I would love to just talk to Honora-san about jazz for an hour.
Yeah,
I
that'd be
won't even
fun,
ask him about knives. I'll just annoy him with questions about what jazz he likes.
Yeah, Hinura-san will probably like chickpea curry with herbs
Yeah, he might.
or chickpea Korea with Herbert Hancock.
And
If anybody
Watermelon
can
Man
think
for
of a
dessert.
funny, if anybody can think of a funny joke with Herbie Hancock's last name, put it in the comments there. Because it doesn't seem like a funny name apparently.
What else do we got to talk about? Oh, got a question here, or a response from Fred just about the book. Can you maybe do a companion website with interviews with the blacksmiths, with stories from them or stories from their lives about knife making, specifically video interviews? If you ask me, there's a pretty good place to see video interviews of blacksmiths already. What do you think, Kevin?
I know this place. I think I know the place you're going to mention. Tell us. Do tell us.
But on our YouTube channel, there's a couple of documentaries that we made like 6 years ago.
2014 was the first one. And check
Oh my
this
God.
out.
It was a more innocent time.
Check this out. I've got a ticket
Oh, cool.
from when we showed Springhammer in Calgary. So we showed it October 20th, 2014.
Nice.
Isn't that funny? I found that just the other day.
I think I worked the door for that show.
I think I worked everything for that show.
Yeah. But yeah, Kevin, and his buddy Kevin, so two Kevins went to Japan, and they
With
shot,
Naoto,
and not like,
with Naoto.
yeah,
Important that Naoto's there because Naoto brings it all together. I add the stupidity and levity, I think, and Naoto brings the intelligence.
yeah. Not well. Hey, he also can ask questions in Japanese, which is
Better than
seriously
I
helpful.
can.
And he knows a crap ton about knives, so he could really dig in and ask about knife making. Yeah, so he sat down with a dozen or so blacksmiths and just asked them to tell their life stories and share their philosophies and ask them about the way they forge or sharpen or anything. And it kind of paints a picture of just the culture and the spirit around Japanese knife making. And then the second one gets deeper into the actual technical aspect of knife making and how the process works and
But
what
still
blacksmiths
has
do
but
differently.
still has interviews with the blacksmiths too about it. And
Oh yeah,
the great thing about that is that the interviews are also cut individually in our YouTube channel. So you can go to the YouTube channel and see the individual cuts of the blacksmiths interviews.
yeah. Another good thing. So this pertains to my job. So I'm just going to selfishly shout out this question. Charlie on Facebook is saying, can you add a steel type section to the website? That would be great, as well as how the knife shapes are organized. So Charlie, if you have any more specific thoughts about that, what kind of things you'd like to learn about the steel, because we try to design our website for beginners and knife nerds alike. But for a lot of people, I understand it can be very, very overwhelming. And I don't do the website design because I am a bit of a Luddite, but I put a lot of the words into it and a lot of the blogs and that sort of thing. So yeah, that layout I love.
What's this? Do you remember this, Nathan? Did I make one of these for you?
The cardboard steel chart.
Did I ever make one of these
when
for
I
you?
started working at Knifeware.
Yeah. What is it? This is a great way to learn about steel.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So when
What
people
page of the
start,
book is that?
that's on page, it's on a page with a spelling error. It's on page 220 and 221. There's 4 spelling errors in the book, by the way. 2 of them are on the same page. So if you want to get a book that's actually good, you could get the new copy, which won't, it'll have new spelling mistakes, not the old spelling mistakes. So that'll be nice. But this one here, it says Abel, A-B-E-L. It should be A-E-B-L. Mason got all excited. That's not my handwriting. My handwriting's atrocious. So there you go. So yeah, Fred. Oh, would you like an hour-long video about the day in the life of Fujiwara? I would too. That dude's wild.
Yeah, all the stories I've heard about him are crazy and true.
And his wife came out and had sushi with us one night. And she likes sake and I like sake. And I kept up with her drink for sake. And I was feeling quite wobbly when I left, and she was very composed. So there you go. Fujiwara's wife.
That's awesome.
And she can put away the sake.
I got to meet him when he came to visit, because pretty much the only time he's left Japan for work ever. Like, he's barely ever left Japan, and he came to visit us.
Oh, he doesn't like flying. He's very scared of flying.
Yeah, and he was nice and brave enough to come visit us. Again, like, this was like 5 years ago or so, I think, or 4 years ago maybe.
Listen, he said he said he'd be willing to come to Canada a second time because he really enjoyed himself.
Super cool.
So yeah, he may come back.
We got to like sit down with him after work and just ask him a bunch of questions. He was very patient with us because we were asking all sorts of weird and dumb questions about his knife making. My favorite was at one moment he's looking around and kind of like looking at all the staff. And I mean, if you know anything about Fujiwara-san, you might be a little intimidated when you meet him because he's a stern Japanese blacksmith who makes swords and does all sorts of crazy stuff. And he's a bit of an intimidating figure, but he just leans over to Naoto and says something in Japanese. And Naoto's just like, sorry, Fujiwara-san just wants to take a second to look at all your tattoos because he's so impressed with all the tattoos you guys have.
That's right. That's right.
I was like, okay, cool. This guy just wants to hang out with us. It was put me at ease for sure.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Tefel Goran is asking if there'll be an ebook version of the new book. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know what goes into that, to be honest. I'm not very good with that. We'll talk to the publisher. The publisher is called Long Ladder Media. So we'll talk to them and see if we can get an ebook version.
Well,
who knows? Maybe we'll even have an audio version. Maybe I'll read it. Maybe I'll just start with a bottle of gin and start reading the book. I'll do it in one take. I love that idea. I'll do it in one take with a bottle of gin. That sounds like fun.
You just pour yourself a couple of ounces every chapter
and then just go off script and say, oh, I remember this one time. I totally should do that.
The Knife Nerd Guide to Japanese Knives, the 128-hour version. They can play that in the bathroom at Una instead of Harry Potter.
You could play that to go to sleep because it'd be so damn boring. Here's a funny question we already answered today, but let's do it again. I heard that ginseng is similar to carbon steel. Is that true? No, not. It's some people say you can sharpen it so it feels like carbon steel.
It's steel. You can make knives out of it. It gets sharp. It's a lot like carbon steel.
But it's stainless. It doesn't rust, whereas carbon steel will rust. Some people say ginseng feels like carbon steel when it cuts, but I don't think it does unless you sharpen it the smart Shibata-san way, with a coarse grit on one side and a high grit on the other side. Then you get that toothy yet smooth edge that you get with carbon steel. And I think if you sharpen VG10 or ginseng like that, it totally feels like carbon steel. But otherwise, I don't think it's like carbon steel at all.
So you've been using Japanese knives for a really long time, and you've sharpened more Japanese knives than most people.
I've sharpened a few of them, yeah.
Like, if you were to describe how stainless versus, and I know this is kind of like esoteric and hard to explain, but
no, I can
stainless steel versus carbon steel, they cut differently, but how do they feel different?
You know what? If you sharpen, okay, carbon steel, you don't have to sharpen up to as high a grit because it cuts really smooth. Like if I've got a knife from Takeda-san made with Algami Super and I sharpen it to 4,000 grit, it's going to feel smooth, yet it'll still have a little toothy bite, so it'll like cut through the skin of a tomato really easily, right? Because if I make that edge too smooth and there isn't like little micro teeth, it'll, like, for example, a rope. You can't cut a rope with a really crusty bread with a really smooth edge. It'll just run on top and just skate, right?
Yeah.
You need those little tiny microscopic serrations to break through the hard thing or to break through the skin of the tomato. So I find with carbon steels, this is very generalized, but I find with carbon steels, if I sharpen to 4000, I get that super smooth edge, but it still has the teeth to cut through things. If I sharpen a stainless steel like Ginseng or VG10 the same way, it doesn't feel as smooth if I sharpen it up to 4000. But if I sharpen up to 8 or 10,000, it will feel as smooth, but it doesn't have those little teeth. So it doesn't cut through things like a tomato skin as easily. So I like to take stainless steel and sharpen it really coarse on one side and really fine on the other. So I get that smoothness of a carbon steel, but I also get that toothy edge of the carbon steel. It's a hybrid way of sharpening. Shibata-san taught me that years ago, and I've never turned back. Like, you give me VG10, I'll make it sing, but I'll do it that way. I'll put 8,000 grit on one side and 1,000 grit on the other.
I got to try that again.
I hope that answers the question a little bit.
Yeah, I think so in a kind of roundabout way. But yeah, they're just different. I think it's worth trying both. And I mean, if you're really into food and cooking and knives, you got to experiment with different stuff and see what you like, see what your preferences are.
Well, it's kind of like guitar players. I know one guitar player that has one guitar. Every other guitar player I know has a lot of guitars and a ton of pedals. And that's just that.
Yep.
How many axes do you have, Nathan Garrow?
Only like 8. Not that many.
How many?
Not compared to Adam Zaricki. But yeah, I have 1 or 2 axes.
17. Mr. Zaricki's got 17 axes that he uses regularly because he's insane. Yeah. He's crazed. I like him. He makes sense to me.
I get it though. And every time I start a new hobby, you start I want to get into hunting next year, and you start getting into all the gear for that, and there's the whole other world of stuff to get hooked on.
We still got another week of grouse season right now. We can still go out and shoot grouse for another 7 days. I've got a friend in Sundre. He's got a distillery called Greenwood, and I've been bugging him because he knows a secret place. So I've been bugging him to go out and shoot some grouse because I think grouse are delicious.
I'm going out to some private property this weekend, and there are definitely grouse that live out there.
What? Nathan Garrow, you have a PAL, don't you? But you don't have a hunting license.
No, I don't, sadly.
I've got a hunting license.
Oh, convenient.
Just saying, if you needed a grouse exterminated and then plucked.
A grouse exterminated,
I could help you.
Hey,
Ethan wants to start a night for a band. Oh, sorry.
I was just saying, we got some love from Undulate Recordings on YouTube. They like the Konro Yule log, which I just want to shout out again. If you haven't seen it yet, go to our YouTube channel. We have a Yule log video, except it's a Konro grill, and Santa's arm just reaches in every few minutes and flips some skewers around and stops the pork belly from burning.
It's pretty awesome. Listen, if you have any questions, now's the time to throw in your questions. Nathan, I want to talk about Bob Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Dylan, you might have heard of him. You're very young, but you might have heard of him anyway. He's 79 years old now. He has published 600 songs in a 60-year career of writing songs and doing albums. He just sold all of his catalog, the rights to all of his songs, to Universal. For people have estimated it's between $300 and $500 million. You could live well on $400 million, especially if you're 79.
I mean, hell, even if you live for another 20 years, it's still a couple $1 million a year. I think that's reasonable.
But here's the thing. So they reckon it was between $300 and $500 million. Taylor Swift just sold her catalog also for $300 million. And I would say that Bob Dylan's catalog is probably, in my mind, would be worth a lot more than Taylor Swift's so far. But what do I know?
Yeah.
Anyway, it leads us to Boomer Music Roundup, Nathan. I promised you Boomer Music Roundup, and here you go. Baby Boomer Music Roundup, Nathan. You got to tell me your opinions about these bands. These bands were dead long before you started living. Here we go. And I'm going to start with my favorite, the Eagles. I cannot stand the Eagles.
No, I can't stand the Eagles either. I am sure they're great, and I'm probably going to get burned at the stake for saying this, but I feel much the same about the Eagles as I do about Pink Floyd. I think they're probably great musicians. I just can't be bothered to care about them at all. I forgot about Pink Floyd for the Boomer Music Roundup. Okay, you and I, Eagles, and Yeah.
Pink Floyd. You know, Mike loves Pink Floyd, but I just can't. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. There's like maybe 3 songs I won't change the station for.
I reckon if you've ever done maybe some psychedelics and listened to Pink Floyd, you probably get Pink Floyd. I haven't. I don't.
I got Pink Floyd once, but pills and it went away. I don't know what that means. But Pink Floyd, that's a terrible band. Jeevan apparently says they're whack, which is either good or bad. I don't know. And he says Pink Floyd are shit. I agree with you, Jeevan.
I just want to say, I bet Jeevan will agree on this, and I know this is going off the rails on being off the rails, but I bet Jeevan, to me, people talk about bands that are kind of crazy and weird, and to me, Pink Floyd just doesn't excite me, but King Crimson is one that is awesome, and I think within the boomer age bracket, but I bet Jeevan's a fan of King Crimson too.
He might be. How about Led Zeppelin?
Right. I grew up listening to a lot of Led Zeppelin, and I definitely like Led Zeppelin.
I can get into Zeppelin for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think like a lot of bands, they're like, I don't think it's maybe the greatest music that was ever written. Like it didn't come down from the heavens, but I do really love Led Zeppelin. And I think they were very creative musicians that did a lot of cool stuff.
And I think the deeper you get into Zeppelin, I think the deeper cuts even get better. And Jeevan's agreeing with us. He said Pink Floyd's garbage and Led Zeppelin is fantastic. I think that's what he just said there. Like Zeppelin, love. Floyd, not so good. I agree with you, Jeevan. How about this one? How about the Who?
Yeah, Who's great. They're just fun. Like, it's not really a band to take seriously, but they're just super fun. No?
Can't stand them. No. Don't even like to watch CSI because of them. How about the Beatles? How about the Beatles and the Stones? How about the Beatles and the Stones?
Okay, Rolling Stones, no. It's not my era. I didn't grow up listening to it. I think nostalgia plays a lot of it because I grew up listening to a lot of Beatles. Here's the thing. I'm not crazy about the real kind of basic Beatles. I like the weird Beatles. The Beatles that sound like Led Zeppelin, where they're just playing records backwards and doing weird stuff in the studio and just being goofy. Like
well, Fred says I saw Roger Waters. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say Magical Mystery Tour, great album because it's weird and strange and I don't know.
You know what? I think the Beatles are the most overrated, boring band ever.
That is totally fair.
I'm totally going to get lit up for that. But gee, I just don't get it. Like I've tried, right? As soon as I got my first streaming service, like I think it was Deezer years ago, I thought, okay, here we go. I'm going to try to like the Beatles. And I played album after album and just, And I know so many of them because they're always on the radio, but good God, so damn boring.
Yeah.
So damn boring. My God.
Hey, Peter is wondering about Motorhead because Lordy's not around. I guess because he's, got the Lemmy thing going on.
Yeah, but
I
think he's medium about Motorhead, but I think there's between the two of us, there's one of us that's a huge Motorhead fan.
Yeah, I love Motorhead. If you do some deep Googling, you could probably find a photo of me wearing like denim vests covered in metal band patches, and my hair is 2 feet long and bleached to oblivion. I love Motorhead. I saw them live a couple of times before Lemmy passed away. I think that's probably between that and knife sharpening professionally. That's about 90% of my hearing damage accounted for.
What did you say?
I said. No, I love Motorhead. Yeah, I like most of their albums and most of their songs.
Well, I just Googled your name. I can't find the picture you're talking about, but I know the one. I should probably just have a copy. Jeevan says we're killing it right now. He agrees with everything we're saying because he too hates the Beatles. I get it. How do you feel about Bruce Springsteen? Can't stand that guy either.
No, but
Too
he's
much
about as
grunting.
exciting as Michael Bublé.
So I prefer Bublé. Too much grunting. Too much grunting with Bruce Springsteen. Just
You know
sounds
who's
like he's
underrated is
forcing
Huey
something.
Lewis.
Sorry?
You know who's underrated is Huey Lewis.
Shut up. Don't talk to me anymore.
I love you.
Okay, back to Boomer Roundup. Beatles or Stones?
Right.
Which one? Which one?
Beatles.
Beatles
Easy.
versus Stones. Yeah, but see, the
Because
Stones
the
were
Beatles
good.
are still good.
The Beatles were terrible. The Stones were at least good. But if I have to choose, because it's always the age-old Boomer question, Beatles versus Stones, who are you going to choose? I'm going to choose Bob Dylan. He was, out of all the Beatles and the Stones, Bob Dylan, 3 albums out of the 60s with Bob Dylan were better than all of the Stones and Beatles put together. So there you go. Bob Dylan.
I guess I haven't heard those Bob Dylan albums yet.
You suck. Shut up. Fred says he used to hate the Beatles and I don't love them, but I like the way they use stereo effects. Ooh, stereo.
Hey, if anybody's got knife questions, pop them in the comments.
No, we're not done with Boomer Music Roundup. So Dylan, where do you stand on Dylan? Obviously,
I think I need to listen to more Bob Dylan. I know almost none of it.
Bob Dylan, the genius of geniuses. Name a band that hasn't sung a Bob Dylan song.
Kraftwerk.
See? You can't. You can't. They totally did. They did Lay Lady Lay on one of their live albums.
Oh, okay.
I made that up.
Yeah, Devo probably has, and they probably made it better.
Jeevan Joe Hill, the best Dylan album after the Christmas album, because that's clearly the best Christmas album ever written by a human. But the best Dylan album, if it's not Blood on the Tracks, you should never listen to me again if you can't agree with me on that. The Stones were similar sounding to the Beatles. Maybe. They were both terrible. Oh Mercy or Desire? Jeevan, why would you like Oh Mercy or Desire over Blood on the Tracks? You are such a weirdo, Jeevan. Okay, Boomer Music Roundup. Hendrix.
I love Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, he wrote good songs. Like All Along the Watchtower. That was a good one.
That's, yeah. Great writing in that song. No, I think he's cool. I like weird sounding music, and I think, especially for the era, I think he did some pretty cool stuff.
Hendrix changed everything, right? You wouldn't have grunge without Hendrix. You wouldn't have punk without it. Just like the way he used, he just changed how to play guitar, I think. I think he's probably super, as influential as the Beatles.
I mean, he literally changed how to play guitar because he took a right-handed guitar and stringed it upside down.
Yeah, wow. Somebody had to. He says, Hendrix is better than Jimmy Page, says Jeevan. Well, no shit he was. That's easy. Jimmy Page was just a sloppy guitar player, but he could really play some good licks. I don't know. There's a whole band about his songs called Led Zeppelin. Remember them? Really good. Okay, Fleetwood Mac.
Getting drunk around a campfire. Love me some Fleetwood Mac.
There's about 4 songs I like. I don't know. I'm not a Fleetwood Mac. How about ABBA? That's a boomer band, isn't it?
I love ABBA, dude. I used to work in a diner, and we'd play the Gold album often, too often. And I probably know 80% of the words off of the just like the greatest hits album.
Boomer Music Roundup. Fred says can't stand the Doors. Jeevan says ABBA slaps. Don't know if that's good or bad. Probably bad.
I think it's youthful lingo for good.
It's probably bad. Jeevan's not youthful, so I don't know what he's doing. He's playing. He's 56. Fred can't stand the Doors. The Doors are terrible, except I won't change the channel for the Doors. I'll actually listen to all of them. So there's that. Yeah, I got time for the Doors. How about this? Gen X Music Roundup. Here you go, Nathan Garrow. You don't like Gen X bands. You told me that.
I probably just know fewer of them.
Iggy Pop and the Stooges. Genius.
I
Got it.
have heard some of their songs.
You're an idiot. Nirvana. You've heard of them, right?
Yeah, I like Nirvana. It's probably my favorite thing to sing at karaoke because I can actually sing it. It's very achievable.
Well, this isn't going my way. How about Pixies? I love the Pixies.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, I don't really know them that much, but they're fun.
Devo. That's it. That's the last. That is the last of the Gen X Music Roundup. How do you feel about Devo, Nathan Garrow?
I like Devo more than Motorhead because I'm a nerd. I like weird, nerdy music like jazz and Devo and Kraftwerk. So Devo's up there.
Devo or Beatles? The age-old question.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I always get asked that at parties, and yeah, no, definitely Devo.
Devo or the Beatles? There you
Yeah.
go. You heard it here. Knifeware endorses Devo as opposed to the Beatles. So
and they
that's
have
easy.
the best Jimi Hendrix cover.
You know what? Jeevan has said Talking Heads are better than Devo, but I've got Talking Heads on my list here too, and I didn't even bring them up. Love the Talking Heads, but you know, you're right. Devo over the Beatles, Talking Heads over the Beatles. That's easy.
If anybody has 2 minutes,
Pixies over almost everything.
If anybody is 2 minutes away, look up the video of Kermit the Frog singing "Once in a Lifetime" from the Muppet Show. It's amazing.
Or Google the Devo Christmas song.
That one's good too. Merry something to you.
Merry something to you. Whether you're a Christian, Muslim, or Jew, happy holidays.
Believe what you want to. Nothing's really true. Happy holidays.
Yeah. Something, 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 gobble, gobble, chew. Happy holidays.
Yeah, that's a pretty. I gotta put that on the shelf tomorrow.
Hey, look, Charlie Davidson is back to knives because he's not an idiot, and we are. He says he just Shibata sharpened his Yukiko bunk, and it feels sharper. I'll bet it does. It's a great way to sharpen a knife to make it feel super smooth and for it to stay sharp a long time. Jeevan says Wu-Tang forever. Okay, how about this, Nathan? Wu-Tang or Public Enemy?
I think Wu-Tang's probably way better, but Public Enemy is just a lot of fun.
How about
and
Wu-Tang
to a lot of Public Enemy back in the day?
Or NWA?
Oh man, I don't know. I know more NWA songs, so I'm gonna say NWA.
How about this? Wu-Tang versus the Beatles. No, it's easy. Wu-Tang.
Easy,
so
Wu-Tang.
Easy.
I mean, we don't have a Beatles shirt that says Knifeware on it.
Oh, the Beatles. Oh, she loves you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go, Jeevan Joe Hill. Wu-Tang better than the Beatles. Devo better than the Beatles. Eagles, Beatles, equal. And Brian Cook says he prefers Titanium San Mai. So I don't even know what that means, but I'm here for it. That's like a Bob Dylan song off his new album, Titanium San Mai.
Apparently the boomer music thing is entertaining while sharpening. Charlie, what's your favorite boomer music or least favorite boomer music?
Yeah. Okay, everybody hit us up. This is the last thing we need. What's your favorite boomer band and your least favorite boomer band? Go.
Also, Charlie, I want to know how Charlie sharpened their Yuki.
And also, Nathan, give us the rundown here. All the news. Like I think Konro, shipping, beer. Give us all the news that we need to. We'll have our exit news. But as we're going through the exit news, put your favorite boomer and your least favorite boomer band in, and tell me which bands you prefer over the Beatles. Like, for example, I prefer
all of them.
I prefer Two Dog Night over the Beatles. Probably a band, I think. I prefer Boney M singing Rasputin over the Beatles. That's terrible.
April Wine?
First concert I ever went to. April Wine and Corey Hart. First concert I ever went to. How about Weird, huh?
Yeah, so we have extended hours coming up soon. So
that's good.
I mean, assuming our shops don't get shut by the government until future notice. Starting Thursday, all of our shops are open 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. Up until the 23rd. So, get your Christmas shopping done because things are crazy. Now is not the time to delay and hang around. But we're here for extended hours because, a lot of folks are still busy working. And it also allows you a little more time in the shop when probably there's less humans around. We all know humans are gross. So if you want to avoid them, come to our shop between 6 and 8 because our shops are open 10 to 8 from what's Thursday, the 10th till the 23rd of December. And then Christmas Eve, we're closed at 2 p.m. sharp. We lock the door. 2:01, we crack a bottle of baby duck and then head out for Christmas. What else? Shipping delays are a thing that we're starting to see. I'll be quite honest. We're starting to have packages get delayed. Fortunately, the people whose packages are getting delayed ordered recently, so their stuff will show up in time for Christmas. But if you wait much longer, it's December 8th. Usually Canada Post cuts off the shipping times for Christmas at around the 14th or the
20th.
16th. Oh, the
for
20th.
Canada, for domestic or international, they cut it off on the 14th.
Yeah.
Canada Post, but we don't do those. We do DHL internationally.
Yeah.
And they've actually been great.
Yeah, DHL is still super quick.
Canada Post usually says the 20th is the cutoff within Canada, but
yeah. And so if you do have to order a Christmas present from us, I wouldn't order it any later than like this Friday, and honestly, I wouldn't order it later than tomorrow. And upgrade to express shipping at checkout. It's super cheap. It'll cost you like a few extra dollars, and it's so much faster. Even during lockdown, when it was taking 6 weeks to get a package across the country, express shipping was still getting there in a week. So upgrade to express, get your stuff this week. Don't, procrastinate and make a headache for yourself later in the month. I'll happily admit that I still have a few Christmas gifts left to buy, and don't be that person. Just get your stuff now.
Me too. I'm hoping to sort it out tomorrow. That's my plan.
Yeah, me too. If you live in the U.S., shipping's still super quick. So a lot of our American customers are still emailing us being like, hey, I ordered my stuff on Monday and I got it on Thursday or even earlier. So it's super, super fast, often as quick as 2 days.
Yeah, it's insane. Nathan, if it gets really crazy in Calgary, I think I'm going to start delivering with my car. I think I'll just grab my car and do deliveries. I'll quadrant the city and then just start delivering using my car if it gets to the point of that. So that'll be fun. Listen, Patrick says, is there any Tragically Hip fans? I am old enough to be a Tragically Hip fan, and I'm a fan. I actually like the Hip better than Wu-Tang and better than the Beatles. So there you go, Jeevan. Tragically Hip over Wu-Tang, Tragically Hip over the Beatles. There you go. That is my Gen X Canadian music roundup right there.
I'm not Gen X, but I am Canadian, and so of course I like the Hip. They're freaking great.
Absolutely.
I don't even like sports, and they make me want to go play hockey.
Any other news?
Well, some folks might have missed it because I know we've probably got a few new viewers on. We made a beer, or more accurately, we gave some honey from our local beehives that we sponsor through ABCBs, and JJ at Highline Brewing made a beer. Highline Brewing is a really awesome brewery around the corner from Knifeford, Calgary, and Kennemingawood, Calgary, and they make great beer. And they took a bunch of honey, like 50 pounds of honey from us, and they made a honey apple sour ale, and it is delicious. It's 10% alcohol. You can get it by going to Highline, and well, right now you can order it. I think they're gonna release it like tomorrow. Originally, we were gonna wait till Friday, but bars and restaurants are getting closed down, so they're probably gonna launch it tomorrow. And then if you ask nicely, they might be able to fill a growler or like a half growler for you. Or if you come into the Calgary shop and you buy some knives and have a good time with us, we might accidentally drop a bottle into your bag. I mean, we won't because that's not legal, but
totally not legal. That is totally not legal. We got 40 extra bottles that we don't have homes for, and yeah, like often at Christmas, if you place a big order, sometimes a bottle just falls in the bag
I
accidentally.
don't know how it happens. I think it's the beer
Uh,
fairy.
I don't know. It's just we're clumsy, right? We're just clumsy.
Hmm.
We would never
And if
give
you need
away
something
beer. That is illegal.
relaxing and a lot less obnoxious to listen to after this, go to our YouTube channel because we just came out with our Konro Yule log video. I think it gets posted to our. We're gonna post a short version to our Instagram, Facebook on Saturday, but we've got like an hour and 20-minute long video of Santa Claus just grilling meat, including some hot dogs on his Konro, and it's pretty great. I put it on my TV last
I
night.
was surprised when Santa did the hot dogs. I have to admit.
Yeah, I didn't take Santa for a hot dog guy.
Who knew? Who knew he liked hot dogs? Jeevan Joville says it's pronounced Hucky. I have no idea what that is. Let's see. Sharp knife slap. That's a thing to say, I suppose. BTO is good. Pink Floyd is bad. J.O. Bauman, you are smart.
What's BTO?
Backman Turner Overdrive. You're too young. Just stop it. They sang a song called "Taking Care of Business." Homer liked it. Homer Simpson. Charlie Davidson.
Charlie says, yeah.
Judas Priest.
Charlie's got good taste. Love me some Priest, man. What's your favorite Priest album? Because Priest changed a lot over the years. Like they started making metal in the late '60s, and I don't know if they're still making music, but they came out with an album like the last year or two. So like they have changed their music so many times. I like the kind of old school stuff from the '70s, and I like an '80s, and I really like the stuff from the '90s, like the really kind of hard Priest. But I'm curious. 1969. There we go. Oh, and he did the 8,000 and 1,000 on either side of the knife. I'm curious to hear how it works.
Judas Priest. Yeah, they've been forever. My goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been making heavy metal for 51 years. That's a while.
Yeah. You know what, though? Like British Steel. Come on. That's a great album.
Good time.
What do we got here? This conversation needs more melodic death metal. Okay, Sean Coots. Jeevan says Iron Maiden's better than Priest, and I'm going to agree with him. Big Iron Maiden fan.
Yeah. Iron Maiden is like the Eagles of metal. They're just kind of boring.
Oh,
I do not like Iron Maiden.
Nathan
Unpopular
Garrow.
opinion. Almost every metalhead I've ever known has been pissed at me for saying that.
You're paying me, Nathan Garrow. That's horrible.
I'm sorry.
Oh. No, Priest is great, but Iron Maiden is just clearly better, and that's just a fact.
Fair enough.
That's just a fact. Like Nirvana, for example, is great, and Pearl Jam is unlistenable. It's just facts. It's just facts.
I agree with
that. If I have to hear, what's that guy's name? Eddie something from Pearl Jam again, caterwauling like he stubbed his toe. I can't even listen to it. It's not a thing. There is literally a band called Eagles of Death Metal. Well, there you go. There is. Yeah, but we don't like them either, Sean Coots. I throw axes at them. Oh my goodness. Does anybody have a question? I think this is the end of it. We've just this went off the rails sooner than most days.
We scared a lot of people off. I think we barely talked about knives today.
It went off. It went off the rails.
Yeah, I think I got all my weekly news. Really like check out the extended hours. Because if you do need to shop, it's like evening time at Knifeware or Ken of Inglewood is a great time to shop. Real quick, another piece of news that I actually forgot about. So if you see this knife, this is a 150 millimeter petty, and I think it's one of the like most underrated, underutilized knives that you can have in your kind of kitchen setup. It's really, really useful for making small meals. Like Kevin was subject to me crunching on a bacon sandwich before this video, like 5 minutes.
Was that bacon? Listen, was that bacon you made?
No, I haven't made any bacon this month, but I'm going to pretty quick here. No, it's just from Sprague's, which is where I get my half pigs from, actually. But yeah, we just wrote a blog, and by we I mean Alex in the Ottawa store. just wrote a blog about 150 petties and kind of why he loves them and what some of his favorites are. So if that's something you need in your life, check out the blog. It's just good reading, good way to kill 5 minutes. We got some other blogs coming up soon too. Some of them are a little more basic, just about different knife shapes and what they do and where they come from. But keep your eyes peeled for that.
Nathan, Gary, just thought of something.
Mm.
If you want to do this next week, you know what we should do? We should do knife quiz.
Yeah.
We could do things like this. I can hold up a knife and then we could see who can guess what it is. And maybe have a contest winner at the end. Maybe have like some kind of a prize.
Totally. Yeah, I think we
if anybody's still listening to this garbage and they want to have a knife quiz with a prize next week,
totally.
Just give us a something. Let us know, and we could probably do that. But dude, I think it's time.
I think it's time. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us for a couple hours and listening to us share unpopular music opinions.
We should probably talk about knives next time.
Probably a good idea.
Oh, well, nobody says yes to the knife quiz, so either everybody's gone or they don't want a knife quiz. So that's great.
Fred says, what about Soundgarden?
Medium. Prefer Mudhoney of like the kind of lower level grunge bands. Although Soundgarden was probably a lot more popular than Mudhoney. Michael Fordsman would like a knife quiz.
Sweet.
He's the only
We'll do it just for you, Michael.
Do you want to do this again next Tuesday?
Yeah, I think so.
Peter says he always loves a chance to win free stuff, but you don't know what the free stuff might be. Might be 3 stickers from, what do I have here? I got stickers in my sticker department. Yeah, the prize could be 2 Sprawl Calgary stickers. Who knows what the prize is going to be? Could be.
I've got a couple stickers that say
a piece of Tomahogany. That's a.
I got a couple stickers that say Jason Kenny's doing a great job. You have those?
Really? I got a coffee mug that says something like that. What does it say?
Oh yeah, Jason Kenny, you're the best premier of Alberta ever.
That's what it says. Thanks for keeping us safe and doing a great job of not tanking the economy completely. Oh shit, no, he did, didn't he? There you go.
I just like all the memes that. Yeah.
It's time. I'm gonna go. These poor people have been tortured enough by our garbage.
Yeah, it's been an especially brutal one this week. But also, everybody that tunes in weekly, come back next week, not only for the knife quiz, but come back with some ideas of like what you'd want to see in the Knife Nerd book, because we seriously want to improve it and add stuff that people are it's going to want to make people read it a second time, and is going to give value to the folks who bought and read the first one, and like give them a legit reason to check out the second version.
Yeah, because I really want to make it a better. I want to make it a better book.
Yeah.
And the 3 spelling mistakes, even the 2 on the same page, we're going to correct those, so you don't have to send me any more emails. And I don't want to actually give somebody all their money back because they didn't like the 2 spelling mistakes so badly they demanded their money back. I don't want to do that again for the next one.
I think that the last
actually I do. That was hilarious. That was hilarious.
I think the last page of the book needs to be just the 5 really bad reviews.
Like the guy that said I said easy peasy in it 3 times, and that's not professional.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently
I really think we should put all those reviews, like just screenshot them and black out the names and just put those all in one page. I think that would be.
Why black out the names, man? They made it public.
True.
Yeah, easy peasy 3 times in a knife book. That's not professional.
No, that's fucking amateur. Come on, Kevin.
I love it. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good weekend, man. Or have a good week, whatever it is, wherever we're at.
Yeah, you too.
I got to go and look at the new issues with Alberta and all the new awesome things they've put in to make the place COVID safe. Apparently, I'm told Kevin's can't drink on Tuesdays.
Kevin's.
Yeah, anybody named Kevin can't drink on Tuesday. I hear there's going to be a voluntary circuit breaker lockdown for 3 hours on Sunday between midnight and 3 a.m. So we'll see if these things
All right,
work.
man. Well, we'll talk to you soon. Talk to you next week.
Ciao for now.